Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we talk about what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now, according to media reports, it appears that the major American clothing brands are already testing the waters for a return to Russian shopping malls. Once that happens, everyone else will follow: McDonald's, Visa, Mastercard, Western car makers and equipment manufacturers. So who's going to come back to Russia first, and who will have problems coming back? Who will be welcomed with open arms and who will not? Now, Russia's already preparing for the return of Western brands and companies, especially those loyal to the US President Donald Trump. Now, according to the Union of Shopping Centres of Russia, it's announced that it's in private negotiations with the Inditex group, which owns the brands Zara, Zara Home, Massimo Dutti, Bershka, Oysho, Pull&Bear and Stradivarius, which left Russia in 2022 and are now looking to return. Now, this is the first news that Western brands and companies could soon return to Russia. So who will be at the forefront in Russia and who will have difficulties coming back? And who's going to be welcomed with open arms in Russia and who will have no place? Well, the head of the State Duma Committee on Financial Markets, Anatoly Sakov, believes that the international payment system, Visa and Mastercard, could resume operations this year. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund the channel and my website, SCOBRICSinsight.com, to further develop them and make them more interesting and exciting for you. You can do this by making a small donation, which is done by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who does donate gets a personal thank you from me, and I'm thanking you all now just for watching, because I do value all of you. Now, there's also talk of McDonald's restaurants coming back to Russia by the end of the year. Now, among the first to return to Russia will be companies such as PepsiCo, Coca Cola, Apple, Cisco, Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson, Nike, Ford and others, believe Sperov. Now, he's the operational director of the Institute of Communications Management. Now, Germany's Siemens and France's Alstrom, which took part in a number of major railway developments and engineering projects in Russia, and lost more than 5 billion euros by leaving the country, are also likely to try and return to Russia, because the Russian market remains attractive for them, believes Pavel Venkin, who's president of the Russian National Research Center for Transport and Infrastructure. Now, Sperov believes that the German household appliance companies like Bosch, clothes by Adidas, Hugo Boss and Puma could also quickly return to Russian store shelves, and representative offices of the leading car manufacturers could reopen, of course, if Donald Trump forces Germany to gain the upper hand and resist pressure from London and Brussels to continue boycotting Russia. After all, they're making so much money. They made so much money before, why are they not coming back? However, Japan and South Korea are likely to overtake Germany, and once again we'll see the large Asian manufacturer of electronics, household appliance and automobiles in Russia, Spiro added. In South Korea, there are already reports coming out that several representatives of local companies, including Samsung, LG and Hyundai, have decided to return to Russia in connection with the dialogue that's already begun between Moscow and Washington. Now, Spirov also believes that the major airlines, which will seek to restore relations with Moscow as soon as possible after the Ukraine conflict is settled. And that's really because they've lost a lot. And at the same time, the Russian authorities are quite relaxed about the return of Western companies. I mean, the task of somehow encouraging or stimulating the return of foreign brands is not actually something that we're looking actively to do, said the Ministry of Trade and Industry. I mean, the Western airlines returning to Russia, I mean, the situation with the airlines is actually radically different and more complicated given the huge layer of sanctions against the aviation industry in Russia. But it's not going to be difficult for the clothing brands to return to shopping mall. The main problem they're going to find is where's the space for them? I mean, many companies, this process will be not easy. Moreover, it'll often be impossible to return under previous working conditions. I mean, that's given because, times have moved on. I mean, companies that had no production facilities in Russia but only imported their goods to Russia to sell, for example, wine and spirit producers from the Western countries, or companies that did not leave Russia, are going to be fine. They should be able to change their name and easily return to Russia and quickly carry out the business's reverse branding, says Natin McCall, who's an analyst at Freedom Finance Global. Now, returning with all infrastructure is another matter. One of the key factors is going to be availability of the retail space, and the second is the human resources. I mean, that's going to be a problem. I mean, IKEA spent years building up its human resources management system and its personnel for training, etc. And it's going to be impossible to recreate that in a short time. And it's also far from certain that the people who previously worked for these companies will want to return to them, because a lot's changed in 3 years, and they remember that these companies up sticks and went, according to Yulia Kandashova, who's the CEO of Mind Money. On the other hand, the retail space of IKEA, because it was so large and they actually built the shopping malls, has actually remained unoccupied. McDonald's will not to Russia on the same terms. McDonald's will no longer work directly in Russia, but only through franchises, as it does in most countries in the world. There will certainly be people in Russia who want to buy a McDonald's franchise, but they're still up in competition with nice and tasty, the Russian alternative. But there's going to be no more frenzied opening of McDonald's restaurants like there was in the early 90s. Things have changed. And of course, at the same time, there are companies that never really went anywhere. The owners did not change their tax registration, their business model. Their structure remained. Only the brand kind of changed. Coca Cola did it they just changed the labels. Some companies did leave Russia with the right to buy back their assets with a fixed thing. But companies like Hyundai and Renault, for example, were sold on those terms. Whether they actually get them back, the return might be easier for those who sold their assets without the buyback clauses. Let's see what happens with Renault, because they've got their own problems with Nissan and Honda, so we'll see what happens there. It's going to be difficult for companies that had their own factories or retail chains and built their own stores or rented warehouses and retail spaces, because most of the most profitable spaces on the market have now been occupied by Russian successors or companies from friendly jurisdictions and countries. So it's going to be more difficult for those who took a wander and whether they're going to come back. Of course, Russian authorities will guarantee the invulnerability of investment to new investors and was not going to easily return to anything like the previous owners. Of course, companies that will find a harvest to return, there's those who have completely walked away and left the Russian economy. And they'll find that things have changed now that they've ownership both de jure and de facto. So we'll see. That's why I do not expect a full-scale return of the large companies to Russia in 2025. Although I am confident that Visa and Mastercard are going to return to Russia in one way or another. That's because Russia's a very huge and important market. That's inevitable. Russia is just something that they need to do. Plus, Russia has not been able to produce a fully fledged card that works with Western banking systems and foreign payment system. So the demand for a Visa card will work. However, the issue of Apple Pay and similar payment systems for which the Visa and Mastercard are crucial has not been yet resolved. So that is obviously an advantage of what Russians are looking for. Their return will require action from the West. Visa and Mastercard can only return if the sanctions against the NSPK, i.e. the mere payment system, are lifted, which without foreign payment systems cannot operate in Russia. So they have to work with me. And sanctions against Russian banks are obviously going to have to be lifted otherwise, because nobody will issue their card, Visa and Mastercards in Russia, only Russian banks. So that's how it's really going to work. I mean, in extreme cases, they'll only be able to work in partnership with branches of some foreign banks that still remain in Russia. But I think that situation is actually very unlikely. And I think they'll start working with Russian banks, and you'll have the Visa and Mir on the same card. Because Russians are not going to change their Mir cards once sanctions are lifted. On the contrary, Visa and Mastercard are going to have to work with them and retain, to try and gain and regain some of their lost market share. Now the same goes for Western airlines. Nobody's just going to let them fly into Russia in particular. I mean, European airlines would love to regain the ability to fly to via Siberia to Asia, because this reduced travel time and brings significant savings. It's cost them a lot by not being able to do that. At present, the Chinese and Middle Eastern airlines are winning the market from Asia to Western countries, because they can continue to fly overseas and do not have to fly around and make a big detour. But Russia's only going to trade this trump card for something significant, such as the lifting of all sanctions on the aviation industry, so that Russian airlines can not only fly whenever and wherever they want, they can also buy foreign aircraft and components for their fleets. And that's one of the problems with the sanctions, is they weren't able to do it. Now, the Russian state is still implementing industrial programs aimed at developing their industry, so the return of foreign companies is not actually that critical. I mean, the import substitution program has been very, very successful. So we don't expect the return of Rolls-Royce engines to stop the production of Russian engines for civil aviation aircraft. At the same time, food and lighting manufacturing and light manufacturing companies may face increased competition from foreign companies. In general, the state support programs can be revised so that only companies with Russian capital get any financial support. So that's according to Anastasia Prelopnikova, who's a professor of international business at the Russian University of Economics. So, at the same time, there are industries where, of course, Russia is not that strong, and there's a clear interest in having Western companies that own the technology and the goods, and welcoming them back. I mean, I believe that the arrival of Western companies is necessary where there's no Russian alternative and no adequate import substitution being available. But the production of components and parts, specifically in the high-tech sector, the production of smartphones, electric cars, and the production of traditional mid-range and executive cars. So the return of the world-renowned manufacturers of medicines and medical products, especially for the oncology and serious diseases, as well as the producer of sports nutrition, infant formula and animal feeds, is also important. I mean, many Russians are waiting for the return of the payment systems, especially Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, and their favourite wines and spirits, plus strong alcohol, etc. Plus, in the food and fast food industry, I like to think about what we can't do without. So we have the sort of the situation now. So it only took Trump's election for the Western companies and him reaching out to Vladimir Putin for Western companies looking to return to Russia. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share, and if you want to help me out, please click on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. See you all again soon. Thank you.